Welcome back to Straight Facts on Tuesday. I'm joined as ever by the brilliant LB. Making his debut today on Straight Facts is Aaron Talks Arsenal. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Viewers, look, we've got a lot to talk about today. We've got a lot to get the boys' opinions on. Gyökeres to Arsenal will, of course, be on the agenda. Chelsea expecting a bid from Arsenal for Noni Madueke. Plus, big updates today on Rodrygo. Arsenal have already made proactive talks and contact about the deal, but Liverpool, PSG, Bayern Munich also in for him. How will that pan out? We're looking at United's shock choice of a striker. What are United going to do in the front line now that Gyökeres is not available? And we're looking at City with reports that Nico Gonzalez, only bought for £50 million in January, could be on his way out already this summer. But before you go any further, people, hit like buttons, make sure you're sharing, get the bell notification button turned on as well. But gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Good afternoon to you both. And Aaron, great to have you here making your debut today.
Yeah. Listen, firstly, for anyone expected Dan Potts, I sincerely apologise. Unfortunately, you're stuck with me today, and maybe for the foreseeable future. But listen, firstly, big up to Dan Potts, man, to fill his shoes, which are double big shoes. You know, it'll be a bit of a task, but I'll try my best as well. Big up to LB. It's the first time I'm sharing a screen with you, so it's an absolute pleasure. And of course, Tel, thank you very much for inviting me on. And chat, come on, do your thing and smash the likes as well, man. But yeah, thank you, pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine, mate. And LB, how are you, mate? How are you? Still rocking the bald head, looking strong.
Yeah, bro, I've been real. Yeah, I've just been out in the sun, man. You know what I mean? Rare sun up north, mate. So yeah, I've been chilling.
You look well tanned, by the way.
Yeah. No. It's yeah. No,
he's spending all his funds, isn't he, on the old sun cream? By the look of it.
Nah. That's what about today, innit? You know what I'm saying? But I've been chilling the last couple of days, but I've not been doing too much content, man. So yeah, like I said, this is just going to be a news for me because I've not been on Twitter much over the last couple of days. So yeah, I'm going to be reacting to a lot of stuff. Maybe for the first time, bro, because I've just been chilling, innit? I've just been chilling. So,
mate, you got to do that sometimes. Just get your head out of socials and crack on. I would say this is the first summer where me and KJ, we both sort of made a conscious decision where we're like, do you know what? Some days I was like, oh, news is going to break soon, so I'm not going to go out. I won't go gym. I'll wait in. Oh, do you want to go for a pint? No, I'm going to stay in. This news might break. And then it doesn't for 3 or 4 days. And I feel like I've wasted time. This year, it's just been like, you know what? If I'm at the gym and it breaks, it breaks. If I'm in the pub and it breaks, I'm in the pub. Like, it is what it is. But I wanted to start, right? Because there've been two differentiating reports in the last sort of 24 hours. One stating that Nico Gonzalez could be on his way out of Manchester City this summer. I know that Sam Lee, I believe, and Ben Jacobs in the last 20 minutes, actually, since we set the stream up, has said that they expect him to remain. But some stories coming out that Nico Gonzalez and his team are not particularly happy with his time so far at Man City and his sort of game time, etc.
Yeah, it's actually a bit mad, man, because if you actually look at when he first come in, he actually started 8 out of the first, I think it's 8 out of the first 10 Premier League games since he joined. So he was playing a lot. And then he got dropped for a game and we won. It was the game that we beat Villa and we played quite well against Villa. And then obviously he struggled to get himself back in the team. Now, I think when people are looking back at the Prem last year, talk about Nico Gonzalez, I think it's a bit of an L, really, because he actually did play a lot, and I think he did play quite well. However, where I think that he can be a little bit frustrated, is the Club World Cup. He played 60 minutes out of 4 games. It's not a lot, that, is it? You know what I mean? Like, you've got İlkay Gündoğan, who's probably going to be leaving the football club in the next couple of weeks, probably going to join Galatasaray. And Gündoğan's getting a lot of game time. Like, you're the new £50 million signing, and Pep's playing Gündoğan over you. So I think that he has a right to be a little bit frustrated. In my opinion, I think he does, because, you know, he's a new guy trying to make an impression. And, you know, he's playing Gündoğan over him in the Club World Cup. But I think once Gündoğan goes, I think Nico Gonzalez will play a lot more minutes. And, Pep played him a lot. If you have a look at his numbers that he did last year, so when he come in from January, he played a lot, man. So I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one, but I think when Gundogan goes and maybe even Kovacic, I think that'll open up the gap and Nico will come in and do well. I think he's a good player. I've said I don't think he's good enough based off what I've seen so far to say that he'll start week in, week out. I think he's going to be more of a squad rotator. But as a squad rotator, I think he's perfectly fine and capable of what we need.
Do you make your money back on him, LB?
Yeah, so 50 million, I think it was 50 million pound, which is about 40 million quid. So I think we'd make our money back on if we sold him. But I don't think he'll get sold, man. That's the point, isn't it? I don't think he is going to be sold. There's no reason of selling him, really. I mean, because you need squad rotators, bro. You need players like if Rodri gets injured again or Tijani Randers get injured, who's going to step in? So I think for me, I think he's a good player. I just think that he has a little bit of a right to be a little bit frustrated with his lack of minutes in the Club World Cup. But when Gundogan leaves, all those minutes that Gundogan was getting, he'll get. I think Pep just loves Gundogan.
Yeah, it was 60 million euros according to transfermarket.co.uk. I don't think he'll leave. I think I feel what these stories are, and it's interesting because Fabrizio said it's one to watch, which is why I think the German reports came out saying that he could go, and then I think Fabrizio sort of said he could leave this summer. My gut feeling, having read that, is I think this is the agent doing a God rest his soul, but doing a little bit of a Mino Raiola. I think they are frustrated with the game time. I think they are frustrated with that. Plus, you bought, I know it's not all the same position, but Rodri's back, Cherky's come in, Reinders is there, Kovacic is going to get game time. I think there's an element of almost saying, look, if you don't really want us, we'll go. I think it's a little bit of just sort of putting it out there. You might have been out of a bar with your missus and you ain't giving her enough attention, and she won't flirt with a geezer, but she might someone might say something, she might smile, and you're like, oh, hang on, all right, I'll give you some attention now. I think there's a little bit of that going on here. I think there's a little bit of posturing from Gonzalez's team to say, don't forget about us. You've just dropped £50 million and everything else. But I don't see him leaving personally. Just a gut feeling.
I don't think he'll leave. He'll leave. For us now, we've entered the phase now where we need to get players out of the club.
Phase.
Yeah.
Phase.
Fucking phases. Fuck me. Cancel me right now. Jeez. No, I think
don't want to be stuck with us, mate.
Nah, bro.
No
I don't want to be saying we're not in no phase. Yeah, let me reword that. We've entered the period of the transfer window now where we need to now focus on getting players out. Yeah, because we've done the early business. We've got 3 players in, and I think there's still 1 or 2 players that we need to sign. But we're in the period now, yeah, that we need to go. We need to get some players out, yeah, because we've got too many players, mate. Look at our defenders right now. How many do we have? Centre backs? 6. 6 centre backs. What are you doing with 6 centre backs, mate? So we need at least 2 of them to go. Yeah, maybe 1, but at least 1 of them to go. We probably need 1 of the goalkeepers to leave and replace them with a fresh goalkeeper. Yeah, we need Gundogan to leave or Kovacic, if not both of them. So we still need to get rid of, and then on top of that, you still need to get rid of Grealish. He's still here on 300 grand a week. So we're in the period now where we need to focus on outgoings, mate. You know what I mean? Because right back, yeah, you can get a right back anytime. Yeah, it's not like a difficult position to sign. Like even if you just go and get Dumfries on that 25 million release clause for a couple of years and just have him, you know what I mean, as a bit of a short-term solution. If you can't get Livramento out of Newcastle, because you might not be able to get him, just go and get Dumfries for 25 million. You could do a lot worse than that. Do you know what I mean? And then, you revisit that position. So, we need to focus on getting rid of some of these players, man. But Nico Gonzalez is not the player that we need to be focused on getting rid of. Yeah, the Kovacic's, the Gundogans, the Grealishes, yeah, the Kanjis or the Stoneses, these sort of players. These are the players that we need to focus on getting rid of. Not Nico Gonzalez, the new guy. He's been all right since he's come in. He's been okay. Yeah.
Do you know what, as well? Like you say, about the need for squad rotational player, the fact that he's only been there for 6 months, I think, and especially from you, a Manchester City point of view, if he's done all right there, you probably give him another chance. Like you quite rightly said, you've got Gundogan leaving, so he's going to probably mop up them minutes. I think if you let him go and sell him, whether it be at a loss, whether it be a par, whatever, it's just another bit of business you've got to do in terms of finding someone else to come in, isn't it? He's there and he's been embedded for 6 months and he actually, like you said, has played all right and he's got opportunity for more minutes. I think it's just a needless sale, really. You know what I mean? If I was Manchester City, I probably would keep him and see him for another season. If it doesn't work out, then sell him next year.
Yeah, and Ryman's right here as well. Like, bro, if we get rid of Gonzalez, yeah, you either have to keep one of the older guys who are not good enough anymore, or you have to go spend more money on another player. So what's the point? Just keep the guy. You got to play him though sometimes. You know, this is where man management comes into it, and this is where like Pep is going to have to play Nico and maybe. But we're in the perfect situation because Rodri cannot play 60, 70 games a season now going forward. He can't do it. If we do that, we are stupid. Yeah, he cannot do it. Yeah, so that's because he was playing 60 games a season, man. He was playing for Spain. He was playing for City, all the games for City. We can't do that now. So there are going to be games where you're going to have to rest him. That means when they're 3-0 up, get him off the pitch. Every time my club goes 3-0 up this year, I'm screaming saying, get Rodri off the pitch. If he's on the pitch at 3-0 up, I'm going to be pissed off. There's absolutely no reason Rodri should be on the football pitch when Manchester City are 3-0 up. Zero reason. Yeah, that's just negligence, mate. Yeah, so I want to see, that's when I want Nico G to come in. Yeah, even if it's half time with 3-0 up, get Rodri off, give Nico G 45 minutes. You don't have to play Rodri every single time, man. You got to protect this guy.
Yeah, I think is what I said. I think it's a bit of posturing from Nico in his camp. And City are also, even if City are thinking right now he's a bit of a dud and we don't think he's that as good as we initially thought, there's still, as you say, bigger priorities to move on that are on bigger wages, that are maybe running maybe have only got a year or 2 years left on their deal that the value is going to drop on. Because even if Nico barely kicks a ball this season, you're still going to recoup because you're very good sellers the majority of that money in a year's time. So I think City will probably, again, unless the player, and it doesn't appear that he's going to do that, kicks up a massive stink, is fuming, angry. It's one of those deals where I think City will just, City, you guys have got a brain. You'll sit down with him and just say, you're going to get game time. Even if you don't mean it, you'll just say, don't worry, relax. You'll get game time. You'll get a few starts here and there. Maybe that's something in a year's time if he doesn't kick a ball. But I think you're spot on, LB. There are more important players for you to move on than Nico Gonzalez that can play a role for you. That value in next summer is going to be about the same as it is now, whether he plays lots or plays a bit part. So yeah, I don't see it happening personally, but I mean, stranger things have happened, but I personally doubt it. Okay, we'll come back to these. If you're talking about other clubs, we'll come back to that a little bit later. Rodri must get proper rest throughout the season. Is what? Yeah. How old is he now?
Is
29.
26. Oh, is it 29? Wow. Oh shit! I didn't know he was that old. Wow. The thing is,
like Carabao Cup, I don't want him playing no Carabao Cup games. I don't want him playing no FA Cup games, unless it's like against Liverpool or Arsenal. Then cool, yeah. But none of them games, don't give a fuck, mate. I want him there for the Premier League games and Champions League. And every game we go 3-0 up in, he gets subbed off. Don't care what minute it is. I don't care if it's the 30th minute, City are 3-0 up. I want him subbed off. There's no need to have him on the pitch, mate. Because he'll get spammed for Spain as well. When he goes back to Spain and starts playing Spain again, he'll start getting spammed for Spain. So you got to protect these players, man. Otherwise, they'll just get cooked. And as we've all seen, City with Rodri and City without Rodri is completely different sides.
Yeah, we had a similar thing with Saka. You just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and eventually they break down. There's, you've got to give them some rest. And
it's negligence, bro. It's negligence from the clubs and the managers. Because the thing is, I always say this, I think you get like fucking signs, mate, from above, mate. And with Rodri, mate, right? We had 2 signs. And we did nothing about it. Sign number 1, he got red carded. Yeah, do you remember when he strangled Gibbs White and got sent off against Forest like 2 seasons ago? He got sent off, got a straight red, and we lost all 3 games. All 3 games we lost. Yeah, Rodri was out, suspended. We lost all 3 games. Yeah, didn't do anything. No, we didn't. Second sign, Club World Cup, not this one, the last one, the one that we won. He went down in the Club World Cup and held his knee. And every single City fan around the world shit themselves, mate. Sorry for swearing, every single City fan crap themselves, yeah. And was sat there going, "Please be okay, please be okay, please be okay." Otherwise, we're cooked. Yeah, and luckily it was okay. What did we do? We signed a 34-year-old Ilkay Gundogan on a free transfer. So unfortunately, we had the warning signs. Yeah, the warning signs work. Like when a player goes down on the floor, you shouldn't be sitting there as a fan going, "No, our season is over unless he stands back up." Like, that is not right. You should not be doing that for one player, unless it's like Messi or something. But when Rodri goes down, that's what we feel. Because he's that important. We are, when he's in our team and he's fit, we are one of the best teams in the world. Neither of you two on this panel, none of the chat will disagree with me. When he's not in the team, we're a good team, but we're no longer the best, or we cannot be considered the best team in Europe when Rodri's not in there. That's how important he is. Now, I'm not using that as an excuse, by the way. I'm using that as you need to then deal with that by getting a player that can supplement Rodri or play in that position when you need to give Rodri a break. That's on the club. We only have ourselves to blame for how last season went, because as soon as Rodri got injured, we were done. We were toast. But, I'm not saying you can predict players to get ACL injuries or whatever, but you should be able to predict that if Rodri goes down, we're finished. So what about if he gets a 2-month injury? Can we get someone in that can just do a job for 2 months and keep us ticking over? Well, we had that. We had Gundogan and Kovacic, and we actually was doing all right for the first 8 games. Yeah, but you don't get away with it forever. And eventually, the tables turned, and we started losing games left, right, and centre. But you're in the same position with Saka. I've said this for years. I've had crap off your fan base for 2 years where I said, go and get some proper cover for Saka, or go and get someone that can challenge him. And then they go and get Sterling, who's finished. Like, I don't like saying that, but he is finished, Sterling. And, what if you got Saka gets injured, you got nothing there. But that's no good for me, is it? I want England to do well. And for me, he's our starting right winger, Saka. You're spamming him out, getting all these injuries. He's going to be finished by the time he's 26.
Oh, look at Jack Wilshere, mate. He was absolutely ran ragged for at his young age, and look what happened to him. I know there's not exact similarities in there, but the point I'm trying to make is you keep overplaying these kids from 16 in Jack Wilshere's case, 17, 18, 19, 20. They start getting them wrong injuries. They're finished. They're toast. He was done by 25, 26, Jack. The thing is as well was to double down on your Rodri point. It takes away the fear factor. And I know he's not Lionel Messi, but he is the Lionel Messi of central defensive midfield for you boys. In the tunnel, when you're lining up, people are thinking, oh, Rodri ain't there. They're thinking, we might be able to beat Manchester City today. Just like when Saka ain't there, the only real player that can actually win a game for Arsenal Football Club. When he's not there, people are thinking, well, we'll just shut up shop. And I suppose it's different in Manchester City. People are looking at them and thinking, wow, Rodri's not there. Maybe we could nick this. Maybe we could get a draw here. It is like that when them big world-class players, the number one, the best player in the team, you'd argue, especially in this position, when they're not there, people do think they've got a chance. And if that goes all the way through the team, then do you know what I mean? It's a totally different team as opposed to the team that will line up and go, well, Rodri's there. Do you know what I mean? Well, we're in for a bit of a scrap. Oh, wow, he ain't there. It rejuvenates people. People think they got a chance. It changes the outlook of a game.
Yeah, you've got to be really careful with him as well, because you don't want to overuse him and then there's a reoccurrence. Because at Rodri's age, if another ACL happens, or what can often happen, and I'm touching wood, it doesn't, the other one can go. Because even with the physiotherapy and the professional work these footballers get, you still spend the best part of a year overcompensating. But I get arthritis in both my Achilles tendons for all the kickboxing and karate I used to do. Whenever I get a flare up, it's always one side or the other, never at the same side. But whenever I get the flare up, it's always the opposite side of my back that hurts within 2 or 3 days because of the limping. And that's always what you've got to look out for. There would have been a year or so of overcompensating, and footballers have to learn to walk again so they put the balance out right. But all these little things, you just don't want to rush it, because he's still got, with modern day medicine, 4 or 5 years minimum left at the top, but not if he's rushed. I do think you're spot on when you say that. Viewers, though, give us your views, give us your opinions now in the comment section below. Sheldon here says, Terry and the phrase straight facts equals comedy gold. Well, it does. You think I'm being serious? You must know by now that the show's existed for 4 years. It's a dig at people that give opinions, and then people go, straight facts. That's straight facts. It's always been a dig. It's never been real. It's a dig. So yeah, it's none of us think we're speaking straight facts. We're speaking opinions. Anyway, it goes over some people's heads, that joke. Moving slightly on, I wanted to talk for a second about Manchester United. And of course, there's been news of a shock, not just one, but there could be 2 or 3 shock strikers in at Manchester United. There's Dominic Calvert-Lewin. There's been talk of Moises Kean. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Kean has been offered. Vardy, Callum Wilson have all been offered to Manchester United. What do you think is going to happen there? Do you think Man United will eventually make a move for a striker of that level? Or LB, I'll go to LB first. Or do you think they'll find a better alternative? Because United fans are fuming, other than Stephen Howson. Stephen Howson seems... Sorry. I haven't watched the video yet.
I've not watched the video. I've just seen it. I've seen the full now.
Yeah, I saw it. I did a video last night saying the complete opposite, and I saw that title. And I'm like, in fairness, you've got to watch videos before you judge them. I will always advocate for that. But what do you think is going to happen in this circumstance?
Well, listen, I think United fans, I think, should be braced for something like this to happen anyway, because the club have made it abundantly clear that they don't have loads of money to spend because of all the, horrific investments that the previous manager and the previous board made in terrible, terrible players. And all like the players like Sancho that are on mad wages and Rashford that are on mad wages that are going to be difficult. So, they've made it clear to United fans that this is not going to be an easy transfer window. There's going to be some signings that maybe people don't agree with. However, like for me, a striker should have been prioritised as the one area of the pitch that you go big for, because, like, ultimately, you need a player that can put the ball in the back of the net, mate. Yeah, and Haaland is awful at it. Do you know what I mean? He's terrible at it. 3 Prem goals last year. 3. That is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting, mate. Yeah? And Calvert-Lewin, bro, is like, what are we doing here, man? Like, that is so like 2017. That is such a 2017. Like, we're 2025. And you're being linked with Calvert-Lewin. And you've got United fans out here actively backing it or actively saying you don't hate it. That is crazy, That is absolutely crazy. That is crazy. And then, you got Wilson. Wilson's a good player, but he's got injury problems. Speak to Newcastle fans. They'll say the same thing. Good player. Can't stay fit. Do you know what I mean? And he's about 33. Do you know who was the other one you were linked with? Vardy. I mean, again, man, Vardy in 2025. In 2025. Like, why did you, real talk, man, why didn't you just go for Delap and offer him big cash? Or did you go for him and did he reject you? Or what happened there?
So both Delap and Gyökeres said no to us and they picked other clubs. So we went for those players first. And this is the thing. We were willing to pay the fee for Gyökeres. And that's why I don't want to say we won't do this, because the article says we may. But if we had the money to buy Gyökeres, because we were trying to convince him and we've been on the phone to him for weeks and all of that stuff. And look, he picked Arsenal. We'll get onto that deal later. If you've got the money for him, surely you've got the money for better than Vardy or Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Surely. I mean,
how much could you get Vlahovic from? How much could you get him from?
I've read some reports around £40 million.
Like, would you not just go for someone like that?
What about Osimhen? Is he done to someone else? Is he?
Osimhen's difficult, right? Because it's now been revealed after weeks and weeks of talks. The guy wants a salary of almost £500,000 a week, and Man United are just not going to pay that at this particular point. We're trying to sort of sort ways builds out. We can't afford to do it as well, because it means every other new signing is going to want more money. Everyone that tries to renew this year is going to want more money, and we don't have the budget for it. So that's just 12 years of misspending. We're going to miss out on that one. The transfer fee is doable. It's just the salary is crazy. And there was a few reports a few weeks ago that it's a lot lower than that, but it's all transpired to no, he wants that money. But for me, again, Ollie Watkins, and this is maybe me being a self-righteous Man United fan, like Ollie Watkins is about as low a standard as I want to go. He's pretty good, but that's as low as I want to go. He's much better than what we've got in terms of goals. Not the best out there, but would be good at the right price.
He'll get you 15 Prem goals next year, Ollie Watkins, won't he?
Yeah, and look, goal-wise, Cunha and Mbeumo are going to score us goals.
Yeah,
they're going to score goals. Bruno will score some goals. Ahmad will score some goals. We just need a striker that's relatively competent, but then it has to be at the right price. So you're dropping 60 millions on on Watkins, and I think that's stupid. I know a lot of people don't like the accountancy thing. I do. The reason Man United have run out of money is because we've overspent for 12 years. Of the 1.6 billion spent on players, it probably should have been near $1 billion. We've overspent, and that means we run out of cash. So I'd rather no striker if he isn't the right profile or if he's too expensive. I'd rather spend the money on Belieber. I'd rather spend the money on a new goalkeeper than bring someone in that's too expensive that isn't good enough. We've done that too many times in the last 12 years. But honestly, with Ineos, I've criticized them for a lot of things, as LB well knows. He's done many shows with me. I've been patient with him in other areas. That's just my nature as a person. But if they get Dominic Calvert-Lewin, they put him on some deal where he's on 3 years, earning 100+ K a week. He's the main number 9 this season. My faith will be reduced to almost nothing, because it lacks common sense. His injury record is horrendous. And I don't care that Alan Pardew thinks on his days as good as Viktor Gyökeres. It would be
that was a disgusting take, by the way.
Mate, did you hear it, Aaron? Did you hear it?
No. I haven't.
Have you not got the clip?
I have got the clip. I can put. It's not going to come on the screen properly, but I'll get it on. I'll put it up now. This is one of the most horrendous things I've ever heard in my life. Let me get it to the right point. Here it is. Back here. Let's take a listen to this, people.
Well, Sporting, that looks like it's gone. That one's down the river, and unfortunately, they're now.
I mean, that is a drop off, though, isn't it? I mean, that is a huge drop off.
I think it's as we speak here on Talk Sport, when we're sort of saying, "Oh, Gyökeres or Calvert-Lewin," but actually, on their day, there's not much between them.
Yeah, that's madness. Pardew, boy, what you doing?
That is just absolutely crazy, bro. Like, what is he waffling? I'm looking at Dominic Calvert-Lewin's numbers here, yeah. Bro, the best numbers this guy's ever done is 16, yeah, which is decent, yeah. This is Prem. That was
how long ago?
6 seasons ago.
Yeah.
6 seasons ago, this guy did 16 goals, yeah.
LB, what
it's since then, bro. He's never got past 10 goals in the Prem after that, and that was 6 years ago. And you're trying to tell me that on the day he's as good as Gyökeres. Gyökeres, he's just done 50-odd goals. He done 39 goals this year. He done 29 the year before. The year before that for Championship, yeah, for Coventry, he done 21. The season before that, he done 17. Like, what are we doing here, man? That's unbelievable. How can people say this, yeah, on like a national news station and talking about that and saying on his day, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. What does that even mean, by the way, on its day? If that one day comes around once every 6 years, what are we doing here, man? I have some respect, yeah, for someone who's just scored 50 goals, bro, in a single season. Something that Dominic Calvert-Lewin would only dream of. Has Calvert-Lewin even got 50 goals for Everton? It's real talk, man. I don't even know, man. Has he actually? I was
about to say, right? You've got
71 goals.
Yeah. Exactly. In one season, he's almost equal Dominic Calvert-Lewin's 28-year career. It is an abomination of an opinion. But this is modern day punditry for you. Where I heard Rio Ferdinand say about Viktor Osimhen, he's saying it's only 50 million euros. It's cheap in the modern day game. Get it done. Not factoring in the wages are a bigger focus for clubs than the transfer fees. Why? Well, because clubs spend anywhere between double to 2 times the amount of money on wages each season as they do transfer fees. So you adding those fees up, the transfer budget, the wage budget is far more important to have under control than the transfer budget. And you would think someone with his business acumen, who owns loads of businesses, he was a pro footballer, he gets the access we could all dream of. We're still pushing that notion of the transfer fees cheap. It's a nonsense. Alan Pardew's doing what the ex-pros do. On his day, he's as good. But as you said, rightfully said, LB, that day comes round now once every 20 weeks. 1 in 20 weeks, you might be as good on that individual weekend. But you could pick a Leyton Orient player. I saw Leyton Orient play against Man City. And on that day, some of their players look like Premier League players for a day. But they're not Premier League players. A couple of them, actually, I think have been bought by Championship teams this summer. But they're not Premier League players. And this kind of analysis is crazy. Man United fans, do not be gaslit by it. Do not be twisted. The only time a Calvert-Lewin or a Vardy or a Callum Wilson works is if we already buy a striker. So we get Ollie Watkins or we get Šeško, and you got one of those guys on a pay-as-you-play level, and they came in as a pure backup. Then, to a degree, maybe you could stomach it. But even then, I don't want it. I still think give a kid from the academy an opportunity. That would be my view. But yeah, if they do it, I don't really mind how long the Mbeumo deal's taken. I keep saying it. We need to be tough in negotiations. We need to be horrible in negotiations. We need to make teams not want to negotiate with us. We've been a pushover. We literally let every single club in England rub our bellies.
What would be your opinion on Watkins, though? Because let's not put Watkins into the same bracket, right? Because Watkins is a player that has been delivering last couple of years. So would you be happy if you got Watkins
at the right price? Yes, I'm a stickler for the money. I'm opposite to a lot of fans. I care about how much we spend because it is our money. It is my money. It's my club's money. I don't want it wasted. For how much?
40 mil.
Bang, do it. Yeah, 40 million for Ollie Watkins.
I just don't think he's going for 40.
I agree with you. I think it's for me. I'd go.
I'm not saying he's worth that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's what someone worth, right? So I look at it this way, right? It's it's difficult because, I mean, let's go look at what he scored, actually. Let's go look
I got the numbers up here, yeah, Terry.
Go on.
Premier League goals, yeah, season by season, 16 last year, 19 the year before that, 15 the year before that, 11, 14. Double figures every single year. If you get him, you're guaranteed 15 goals a season.
Yeah, and we do create opportunities, and I think we or at least that we get the ball into the right areas, and we're going to have a better attacking line. How old is he? 29 or 30? 29, turns 30 this season. Doesn't look like he's played what, 200? He's played 400 games in his career so far. 460. For me, 40 million is where I value him. 50 million is within that sort of area where I'm like, okay, it's getting a bit too expensive. But this is where you've got to have grey areas. I'd go up to 50 million for him if it meant we don't get someone like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, right? Because that might be the next option down for a striker. You start going above 50 million, then I think you start eating into the budget for other players.
Correct.
And it starts to become a little bit sketchy, but it's a difficult one, especially with Villa being able.
Buys you some time, though, doesn't it?
Yes, no, I agree with you.
If you get Watkins, you then don't have to look at that striker position for another 3 or 4 years. And then in that 3 or 4 years, you can sort your midfield out, you can sort your defence out, sort your goalkeeper out. And by the time you get all that sorted, you revisit it, 33, 34, you go big for the big next striker.
I don't know, 3 or 4 years, to be honest with you. I reckon he buys you 2. I know he's not the most paciest player in the world, but, you know, at 31, 32, I mean, Manchester United after 2 years, if they're still relying on Ollie Watkins to score them 12 league goals on average, then something's wrong at Manchester United. I do agree it buys them some time, but 3 or 4 years is way too long for Manchester United. If he was still like a Harry Kane, putting Harry Kane's numbers, I'd be going, all right, cool. That maybe buys you 3 or 4 years, but maybe not for Ollie Watkins. I don't know. I reckon they'll probably want something like a 55 million, probably with some add-ons, which isn't what he's worth. I agree with you, Tel. He's probably about worth 40. But yeah, I reckon it.
I don't mind some add-ons. I don't mind some add-ons because that would probably include him scoring and playing a certain amount of games and us qualifying for certain tournaments. And by the time you get to that stage, you're recouping some of that money. But I agree with LB to largely where Man United are never going to fill all our holes this summer. And there are a few of our fans who I don't know whether they've deluded themselves into thinking we were going to fill all the holes, or whether they're pretending so they can act shocked when it doesn't happen. It's one of those two things, because for me, it's either delusion or calculated. It has to be. You're either really dumb or really smart, right? It has to be, because no one with too many holes to fill in one summer with financial problems. But what getting Watkins does, and I agree with Cole B here, I think with Watkins, Cunha and Burmo, you could see them between them score 45 goals in the league. Between them, they could score that amount of goals. And I think in the short term, goals can paper over squad cracks. We know we need better defenders, better midfielders, a better goalkeeper. And I think we will address some of those issues as well this summer. But a lot of our games last year, we came out drawing or losing because we just didn't score enough goals. So if we can fix that area, win more games, that I think takes some of the pressure away, some of the frustration away from fans, because we're winning more games, which then takes you into next summer where you would hope another year of there being far less outgoings because the cuts have been made. There should be even more money. We've made a profit in this last year, which is crazy. You should then be looking to make even more next year. That's when I think you add another 4 or 5 players in. And that's where I agree with you, Aaron, where then you look at it and go, right, what strikers are now available that are a level above Watkins, where you can go, maybe Šeško kicks on next year. Maybe Ekitike starts getting more goals and you go, right, now he is worth 80 million. We add that to the team. You've got Watkins as a backup. You've got those guys. So I think that's what we've got to do. And I'm comfortable with that because I understand Man United's current predicament. And there are some, no, you've got to go get the best in the world. Well, again, if that's the world you want to live in, you just got to live in that world of being disappointed for a few years, because we've landed 2 really good players in Burmo and Cunha that other big clubs wanted. But we never got all our targets when we were the best in the world, when we were the best in the country. We still missed out on Batistuta, Gaza, Alan Shearer, just to name a few off the top of my head. We still missed out on them. So we're definitely going to miss out on targets now. City miss out on targets now, and they've been one of the best in the world for 8 years. Everybody misses out on players. And I think some United fans have got unrealistic expectations of how long this is going to take. But yeah, I'd take Ollie Watkins. I think he'd score, I agree with you, 15 league goals, which is more than I think Rasmus Højlund and Xerxes have scored combined in the last 2 years. So you're improving that area. Not ideal. Like Watkins isn't at the top of my Christmas list, but I'd be happy with it. I really would. Personally,
he's not a laughing stock, is he? Unlike Højlund, who's just useless up top. It's not this to say you're basically playing with 10 men when you've got Højlund on the pitch. Yeah. Like you just are. Like the guy just offers nothing. Like doesn't score your goals. I don't think he's particularly good at link-up play. Like I think you're massively just playing with 10 men when he's on the pitch. You get Ollie Watkins. You've got a seasoned professional on the pitch that will get you 15 goals for the next couple of years. You sort the other team out, and then you go and get the next big striker. Yeah. That for me is just what you've got to do.
It guarantees double figures, doesn't it, in the league? You'd have thought that Manchester United and Ollie Watkins under Manchester United would at least get you between the 10-15 goal bracket, assuming that he's fit for the vast majority of the season. Facts.
He also makes runs in behind defence as well, which I think will help Mbeumo and Cunha, because them two like to play the ball in behind the defence, especially Mbeumo. So I think that could be a really nice little trio you got there, man. I think if you have them three I honestly think that, man. Like I thought, United are a mess, mate. Yeah, but I think if they got Cunha and Mbeumo, Watkins, and they've got someone who can run in midfield, like a Baleba. I know you're not probably going to be able to get him because he's so expensive, but if you could get someone like that who can cover ground, and maybe a new goalkeeper, I don't think you're a million miles away from like being in a top 5 race, man. Especially given the fact you got no Europe in it this year.
No, listen, I agree to a large extent. I want to see how we play first before I make that claim. But goals, and it's such a cliche, but it's one of those cliches that's true. Goals change games. And we were so bad at it. I think we only scored 5 more goals in the Premier League last year in 38 games than we did in our entire Europa League campaign, which was like 20 odd games less. And we only scored 5 more goals in the Premier League. Madly, the only game we didn't score goals in was a fucking final, but that's another conversation for another day. The goals were our biggest issue last year. And that part of that was creativity. Part of that was putting the ball in the back of the net. And I do think if we had that same front three last season, I don't believe we're 15th. I believe we're nearer the top 8 or in the top 8. And there'd be less pressure going into this season. So, no, I do agree with you. I think it could heal a fair few wounds getting a front line like that. But equally, like I've said, there are players available. There are players in the market that are better. I mean, again, I wouldn't want him, but go and try and buy Chris Wood rather than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. There are strikers. You actually go through the Premier League striker league. You just put like Premier EPL strikers. I don't even thought about this till we're live now, right? But if you go EPL strikers and just look at current strikers now, right? Maybe we don't go and negotiate again with Brentford, but Visser is better as an example. I don't want Nico Jackson, but he's better, right? You keep going through the lists here. Could you bring Ivan Toney back to the Prem, but he's better? Absolutely. Oh, it's got old ones in there. Mateta, of course, Mateta's there. Like you start going through these names, you know what I mean? If you start going through these strikers and then looking at the sort of goals they score, right? Let me just put goals up on this bit here. Start going through these strikers for a moment. Right, here we go. So Chris Wood's better, Visser's better. Ollie Watkins actually he was the 5th highest goal scorer in the Prem. What season's that? It's just 24-25, 16. Jesus. I didn't realize he was 5th top goal scorer in the Premier League last year. And yet people are saying don't buy him. That's crazy. Mateta, you mentioned. Like you got Larson at Wolves, scored 14 goals last year. I'm going off this website, by the way. I haven't checked it here. Raul Jimenez. I wouldn't want him, but he's better. Liam Delap's gone. Bringing back Danny Welbeck is a better option than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Evan Nielsen. You've got Nico Jackson. Dominic Solanke. Like Munez. Again, he only got 8 goals last year. Isn't it funny that I bet you a lot of people would tell you that Munez is better than Ollie Watkins, even though Ollie Watkins got 16 goals. You keep going through that list, right? And you'll go, how far are we going down here? Richarlison, he only got 4 league goals. He's better than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So that's what I mean. If we end up doing that, it just is. And most of those players I've mentioned, I wouldn't go, raw, that's the man I want. But there's so many better options. It'd be crazy to end up with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Is that actually Sorry, mate, go on, bro.
Tell mate, if you signed Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I'm expecting you to be coming dressed as a schoolgirl for your next straight up facts, just like Calvert-Lewin, eh? You gonna do that for the fans? Little tie and that.
I look good in a skirt, bruv. I had to do it for a charity netball thing once at school, and I was told I had. I don't know why the teacher said this to me. Really, I've only just deep this right now. That's a male teacher telling me I had really good legs. I should have thought more about that at the time. I didn't.
No.
Hopefully it didn't escalate, Tel. That's all I'm going to say, mate. Hopefully it went no further. You know what I mean?
No. We collected shells on the beach together once. I don't know if that was on a geography trip.
Yeah.
You know what though? Just quickly, yeah, before you move on, right? You know this whole like United are trying to get one of these like dead players as a striker. I honestly think like you'd be better off going around Europe, having a look at statistically who is the best striker in the academies, every single club in the world. Yeah, who scores the most goals? Maybe not. Maybe Europe. Yeah, go around Barcelona, go Real Madrid, go Bayern, go everywhere. Go find an 18-year-old in an academy. Go get the one that scored the most goals out of anyone in the European academy, and just go to them and say, "Listen, we're going to take you. I'm going to start you as a striker." And just start them instead of playing Calvert-Lewin. What would you buy Calvert-Lewin for?
We've already done it to us.
We've got young Obi in our own. We've got Obi in our own academy, who's a very good. He would be a better option. But even on Dominic, look, people slagging off Dominic Calvert-Lewin, right? So the list I got was right. That was just Premier League strikers. If you just look at the top 10 goal scorers in the Prem last year, in the top 10, sit Cunha, Mbeumo, and Ollie Watkins. Man United starting next season with 3 of last season's top 10 goal scorers is not a bad thing. Like, is because if they were all 3 of them were our players last year, Manchester United would not have finished 15th in the league. I rarely would you ever find, and maybe the season where Middlesbrough got relegated in the 90s when I think Ravanelli scored 20 goals. But have there ever been a season where a team's finished 15th or lower when they've had 3 of the top 10 goal scorers in the league in their team? I'd love someone to find me that stat. I don't know if it exists. It's not a bad signing. You know, you've got Mateta that people are talking about. I mean, it wasn't in the top 10 as an example. Ollie Watkins did score more goals than him as an example. The only strikers that scored more goals than him were Isak on 23, Haaland on 22, Wood on 20. And by the way, I don't think Chris Wood's going to do that again. And Visser on 19. But they're the only ones. So I know he's not perfect. And this is the problem. I don't know if you boys get this when you're creating content these days. Everybody wants it. People are just not happy unless they're getting their perfect player and the perfect solution. That doesn't always exist in football. You can't always get. I know you want to strive for perfection, but it isn't always possible. Ollie Watkins, 16 goals last year. I think you got, as you mentioned, year before 19. Year before that, 15. Right. I mean, last season in all comps, he actually got 27 goals in all competitions, which is a pretty good, look as well. Go and get it for the right price. I mean, what's he valued at now, Ollie Watkins? Let's go and have a little look on Transfermarkt. What is it they say he's worth? Let's have a little look.
I think it's 30 million euros.
Got that if you get him in for like 40 with like 5 million or whatever of add-ons, 5-7 million, whatever. Yeah. I think you'll be happy with that. Sure.
Yeah, I would. I personally would be. I personally would be. I've got a question for you boys. We do a little bit of fictional football on the terrace now, and I've got a fictional football question for you related to Man United. Okay. And do we do the one about Amazon? Or do we do the one about Dominic Calvert-Lewin? Which one would you boys prefer?
Whatever, bro. We spoke a lot about Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, we'll do the other one. So fictional football. Man United made a mistake by rejecting the Amazon documentary opportunity.
No, I see you boys running that yesterday, I think, in that group chat. What was it, like 10, 15 million quid, I think?
10 million, I think. They said it was over 10 million. But the club were open to it. Ruben said no, he didn't want the distraction away from training and football. There's a lot of cynicism. There's people that think the club just don't want people having access to the shit show. There are some, I put that out, which I'm a top red, but I put that out. And then I got abuse saying maybe we just want to focus on football. I personally would have liked to have seen it, but what do you boys think? Was that a mistake? Or do you think United have made the right decision?
No, you made the right decision. Just quickly to jump in there. Well, when the Arsenal one come out, it just made me absolutely wince. Because, you're following a team that's not successful. And at the minute, Manchester United ain't. So why do you want to watch it? It's different with Manchester City and LB's one. You're looking at, the treble winners maybe that season. I think that you had the Manchester City one there, but you're following the team's success. That's brilliant to watch. Other than rival fans, it's not going to be brilliant to watch for a Manchester United fan, is it? Just like I don't think the Arsenal one was for me. It was just glaringly obvious for the failures that we were watching at Arsenal Football Club, and I just didn't want any part of it. It was frustrating for me. It's subjective. Everyone's got their own opinion, but
don't you want to see what's actually going on? Like the real, like you know what I mean? Like you might see something like behind the scenes that you're like, whoa, I didn't think that had happening. Like, might give you a fresh. No. You as an Arsenal fan, like you've obviously got your ways and how you think, but if you watch that, you know, let's assume that like the club don't just veto everything that goes into the documentary, right? Let's say like there is some element of truth in there. Do you not think that as an Arsenal fan that could be quite eye-opening to see maybe a different angle that you didn't clock?
LB, all we got to see was them moving speakers for Anfield to try and get them used to it and squeezing the lemons and the light bulbs and that. There was nothing productive that come out of that. Honestly.
No, but that for you, like, certified your opinion that maybe Arteta's like a bit of a weirdo.
Cringiest manager in the world. Yeah,
whereas you might have watched it and gone, you know what? Arteta's not the problem here. It's the players, or it's this random guy in the background who's trying to get himself involved. I don't know. I think that when you watch these documentaries, like sometimes, like the last one that City did, I didn't think was particularly great. But when you see them and like they do have that sort of rawness about it, you can see stuff that you're like, you know what? Fair, I didn't clock that at the time, or like, right, he's had to deal with that, or blah blah blah. Do you know what I'm saying? I think like when you're so in your views about a manager or about a club, you should want to see that different angle. You might have a different view on something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but to be fair, though, I see what angle you're coming from, and fair enough. But I mean, it's not raw footage that you're seeing. It's shielded and shown. And to a, you know, do you really think Arteta would show himself being humiliated or, you know, a similar?
Well, like apparently with the Amazon, with the Amazon deal, they have like they're not allowed to veto everything. So like Amazon. I know that. Yeah. So Amazon are like, well, we'll give you 10 million quid, but you're not allowed to just tell us that we're not allowed to put anything in the documentary.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think
there's probably certain things that they're allowed
in a
to
certain
do.
way.
Yeah, there's certain stuff, but obviously then like Amazon are not going to give a club 10 million quid if the club just says no, you can't use that. You can't use that.
Well, I was disappointed with Tottenham's because Tottenham's was being filmed when they sacked Jose, and they sacked Poch and then brought Jose in. And they never showed us any of the sacking of, and that was when I thought, well, do you actually get to see everything anyway? I'm gutted, but I think Sophie makes a good point here that maybe after next season, if things are on the up, it would be good. But at the moment, I don't think it would be a good idea. And Sophie's a Newcastle fan, and I think there's some truth in that. I think if we have a good season next year, as in we grow, we look better, there's a lot more calmness, people can see progression. I think United might knock back on the door and say we're up for it. I just do think that I do get some people, but it's a red flag to me, and I understand the cynicism around what do we not want other people from the outside to see. That being said, unless they're throwing Amorim under the bus, it does appear they said no to it because Amorim didn't want the distraction from the football and feels that having the camera crews around could potentially add that element. So, you know, we've still got player issues at the club as well. Having said that, that's the sort of stuff I wouldn't mind seeing exposed. And sometimes people can act better when there's cameras around. That's the one thing I've always felt about if you have cameras there following you. Surely the players would up their game knowing this is going out. The behind-the-scenes stuff's going out on camera. But, yeah.
Have you ever seen Sunderland Till I Die?
Oh, amazing.
That's the best one ever made. Like, it's just the best because they literally just put everything in the documentary.
Do you not feel, though, right? Do you not feel... Maybe Newcastle fans took the piss a bit, but I feel like I've watched Wrexham's. I've watched Sunderland Till I Die. I love that scene in Sunderland Till I Die where they're looking at striker options and the CEO says, why the fuck is Zlatan Ibrahimovic on this list? Because they know they can't get him. Yeah. It's amazing. But I feel like when it's those clubs, and I say this they've got some rivalry, but most of us will just sit down and listen and enjoy and learn. Where when it's one of us, one of the top six, 90% of the people watching it, it's all about banter and how can I rip into them and how can I laugh? And I almost feel like rivals aren't watching it. Like when me and you watch Sunderland Till I Die, it's I want to learn and listen. You are not going to watch Man United in that way per se. You're going to look at it and wait for the bad moments. What can I banter? What can I talk about? And I think that puts us all off. That puts a part of all of us off from it going out there. Unless it's City, when yours was being done, you were already winning. If they'd have said to us in the year 2000, we want to follow United around for a few years with a camera, would have all Man United fans would want to see that, because we know that it was going to be real good stuff you were going to see and rivals would hate it. But that's the only element of it. You guys want us to do it because it's like the Victorian fucking freak show. That's the bit where I'm like, I get Amorim doesn't want that element, but yeah, what was his? Klopp said he would walk if they did a documentary. Didn't they do one for him when he was leaving?
Yeah, but maybe they did it because he's leaving.
Maybe. Yeah, that's true. But there we go on that one. This year says, good evening, lads. LB, any truth to Nico? You obviously tuned in late. Nico Gonzalez leaving City. Also, I see a rumor that our young guns are leaving on loan again. Why, broski?
Bro, I don't know, man. Nah, the Nico G is not true, bro. But yeah, maybe Echeverry might go out on loan. Maybe Vita Hayes, Girona. We just got the all clear from UEFA to say that we can loan players back to Girona because they're not in the Champions League. So you might get one going there, bro. But nah. I don't think Nico G's going anywhere, bro.
Højlund went to United at the wrong time, too soon. Yeah, I mean, I got a hot take on him. I think he'll leave and look really good somewhere else. I think he is. I'm doing a reaction show next week. I'm just downloading clips where people have taken the piss out of me. I did say that he reminds me of a young Alan Shearer, and I'm very open to admitting that's a. Yeah, reminds me.
Call, bro.
Yeah, it's fucking mad, bro.
Yeah. Reminds me. I said I didn't say he was as good as. I said he reminds me. But if you go back and just look, forget his early United clips. Go back and look at him at Atlanta, and I'm talking. You watch his hold-up play. You watch how he brings others in. You watch some of his first touches. You actually look at his acceleration away from people. That actually wasn't very Alan Shearer-esque. Quite a lot of his goals where he would drift in at the back post. I was so excited to see what he could do at United, but he has regressed on beyond belief. And I agree with Wayne. He moved too soon without a striker ahead of him. Managerial change, system change, ownership
massively
change.
overpaid as well. Like
hugely.
The thing is, when you're going to go for a young player like that,
yeah,
and you're going to pay that money, you've got to have seen like the demonstration, i.e., numbers. You buy a striker, unless you're buying a Firmino style striker, you need to see the numbers, right? Yeah. But this guy has never delivered the numbers ever in his career. So why you went and spent 70 million quid on a player like that when they've never actually delivered the numbers is crazy.
And do you know what's interesting, right? It's this element of that overspending is why we're struggling to get a new striker as well this summer, because we've got to move Højlund on. But if we let him go for anything less than around 45 million, we lose money on this year's trading accounts, and obviously the salary goes. So we even need to find a very good loan that covers this year's costs, and then next year you can sell him and make a profit. That's the issue when you overpay. It's why I keep saying it. I don't care anymore whether it's 5 million or 10 million. Why are you trying to say 5 million? Why are you trying to say 10 million, 2 million? I want every player bought as close to market value as possible. Dropping 72 million pounds on him wasn't just overpaying in the short term. It's hurting us 3 years later. Football fans have got to wake up and smell the coffee on this one. This is Terry. You've had a mare with Højlund. You backed the signing from the. Listen, I thought the player would score goals for us. I thought he would go on and be a good player from what I saw. And I stand corrected on that. And I've had a mare. And the difference between me and a lot of people is I'll always hold my hands up when I get something wrong. Equally, Lawrence, no one has ever given me my award yet. When I predicted and was given death threats by Liverpool fans for predicting that Erling Haaland would come in and break Mo Salah's goal scoring record within 30 games, I was laughed at, and he did it. I've not got my reward. Where is my certificate, my plaque, my Nobel Prize for getting that one right? Like, this is the thing. I don't even really gloat about it either. It's a prediction, and it didn't work out. Do I think he's as bad a player as we're currently seeing? No, not in actuality. But he has flopped at Man United, and these things happen, but don't be surprised. And just bookmark this. If I'm right, you'll forget it. If I'm wrong, you'll come back to it. If he leaves and goes somewhere else, Italy, Portugal, maybe.
How low does he go down, Tel? Sorry to cut you there. How low does he have to go down to find something? If we're still on about Rasmus Højlund, of course. Where does he have to sort of go? I reckon it's levels down. And I know United.
I think he'll go to one of the top 5 leagues in Europe.
Yeah, but I mean, for what team? No, surely not a top 6 team.
Well,
Inter
Milan want him. Inter Milan are wanting him. Inter Milan as a club want him, as an example.
Wow.
So there are teams out there that do, but this happens a lot to Man United players that we sign, because the problem that we have as a club is we haven't had a fixed style of football ever in 12 years. So which means we're always buying players for one system, and then within 2 years we've changed and we're looking for new people. We overpay, bad scouting, accountants buying players, crazy way we've been run. So you end up with players that everyone go, they're shit. They leave and start doing well. Why? Because the better run clubs buy the player that fits what they need. So suddenly Anthony goes to Real Betis because they know that his way of playing in their league looks better. There's also a reason that he looks shit against Chelsea in Europe, because he just doesn't fare well against the speed and pace of Premier League teams. You put him in a league that has maybe a little bit less speed of play, because we play the game faster in the Premier League, not because we're faster people. No one get your knickers in a twist. We just play at a higher pace, and players are suited to different leagues. Jadon Sancho in Germany versus Jadon Sancho in the Premier League are two completely different players. And I think Rasmus Højlund will do the same in Italy as well. He is a much better physical specimen than in the Premier League. He's not up against as many people that are as quick or as fast as him. Look at Scott McTominay this year. God bless him. I love what he's done. But there's no way, even at his best, he would ever win Player of the Year in England. But he's gone and done it in Serie A. So for me, Rasmus Højlund will leave, and I think he'll do well in a country like Italy, in a country like Germany. That's why I think the club will try and loan him this year. I think we'll try and find him a good loan, cover our costs for a year, which means we can buy someone else. There is a hope in there that he does well, like the other loanees actually did in January. And then you do get a 35, 40 million pound bid next summer, which then means next year we make a profit on him because we owe less than we get in, and then we can reinvest that money. So we've got to be careful. We can't let Rasmus go at a loss. That's just stupid, because you then can't spend. So
would you take Chris Wood?
Yes and no. I mean, yes,
cheap.
I would. Yeah,
33 years old.
On a cheap deal, if we can't get our main... I mean, again, so much better than that list of players The Athletic printed this morning. So much better. So yes, I would, but he's not like on my wish list, if that makes sense.
Straight swap for Højlund, Chris Wood.
Straight swap.
It'd be interesting to know if Forest fans would actually do that deal,
Do you know what?
Because he's 33, Chris Wood. Like, United just need someone to just get them through a season, like, as a striker.
I wouldn't.
Chris Wood, like, probably get. I
wouldn't do a straight swap. Yeah, I wouldn't do a straight swap because we'd lose money. But if it was a deal where we weren't going to lose money on him,
you're going to lose money.
I'd do it.
70 million out. Like, come on, you.
No,
Milan ain't coming in.
But that's not how the money's. Aaron, that's not how the money's made. It's not done on net spend. The money's made based on their book value. So when the clubs talk about making profit or losing, it's based on. So we owe around £35 million still on him. So if we sell him this year for 35 million, we break even. We sell him for less than 35 million, and that's actually 42 million we owe. So if we sell him for, say, 35 million, we still pay out, we're going to lose £7 million on him this year. Where if we sell him for 42 million, we break even. 43 million, we make £1 million profit. That's how clubs work out. The net spend isn't done because it's just based on your year's trading account. So we owe, like this year on Jadon Sancho, we still owe £17 million to Dortmund. So as long as we sell him for more than £17 million, we make a profit on Jadon Sancho. If we sold Harry Maguire 20 million, that's £20 million profit because his transfer fee's already been paid off. And it only lasts for a year on the trading accounts. So the net spend thing is not how clubs work out a profit and loss on a player, because what they do is they amortize the player. So when you buy someone, even if you pay cash, it doesn't show as an outgoing on your trading accounts. It goes into the asset column, and then each year you amortize, or if it was a car you bought for your business, you depreciate it every year. That's how it's done. So that's why I've been talking about this for 5 years. Like, net spend isn't real in football, and clubs have never used it as a way of working out profit and loss on a player. It's about the amortization element, and it's not politics, people in the comments. It's just the facts. So don't look at it from a net spend. So that's why the club, if they could get a loan this year where we cover the year cost of him, and then you sell him at 30 million next year, we'd make about £6-7 million profit. So the club doesn't want to rush into selling certain players, because if they show up as a loss on your trading accounts, that impacts your PSR. So that's why that's why when I say the fans care about the money, care about the accounts, it impacts your club in a really important way. A really important way. Would I take an injury-free Evan Ferguson? No, not now. Not now. No. I'd rather Dominic Calvert-Lewin, if I'm being honest.
Again, you need someone with a track record of scoring goals.
Yeah.
This is why for
agree.
me, like I don't live by stats. Yeah, I don't think stats is the be all and end all, right? But when you're looking at a striker, especially if you want a striker to put the ball in the back of the net, if you're targeting someone like a Firmino, you want him to link up the play. It's different. But if you're looking at a striker to put the ball in the back of the net, when Manchester City signed Haaland, I knew for a fact this guy was going to score goals because he scored goals for Dortmund, he scored goals for Salzburg, he scored goals for Molde, and he scored goals for Norway. He wasn't just going to turn up at Manchester City with Kevin De Bruyne and all of a sudden just not start scoring goals. Yeah, like Gyökeres, he will score goals at Arsenal. You don't score 50 goals in a season and then just not score. You might not score 50, you might only get 25. You might score goals. Yeah, Sesko, scored 13 goals in the Bundesliga last year. Marmoush scored more than that. He left in January. So Arsenal go and get Sesko. There's no guarantee Sesko is going to score goals. Yeah, because he's not done it. If you look at his numbers, he's never consistently scored a high level of. I know he's young still, but like you get what I'm saying. Even if you go back at when he first broke in the team, so you need players that have, if you're buying a striker, you need them to. And this is why you should never sign Haaland, because Haaland, the year he signed him, scored 9 goals. Then they went and signed Xerxes. His best year was 11 goals.
Well, another one of the big things to look at, and I know that me and Staffy have gone back and forth with this around Prem proven, and Staffy thinks it's a myth, and I think Staffy's right in the sense of people misuse the term Prem proven. For instance, Madueke is not a better signing than Yamal because he's Prem proven, as a great case in point. But players that have done it, deliver the numbers, and that are from your league, I think like Ollie Watkins for me, hold less of a risk of a flop than a 15, 16 a goal season striker from the Eredivisie, as an example, because he's doing it in your league, which is harder. If you actually look as well, I did the maths on this the other day, like last 10 years, looked at City, Bayern, Barca, Liverpool, all the teams that have been winning. All three of you buy your players predominantly from the same 3 leagues. The league you sit in is number 1, then it's La Liga or Germany, and then it's Germany or La Liga. What's really interesting, Arsenal will actually have just moved into that category. Man United, the 2 leagues we buy the most from, well, the Prem's number 2 on our list. Either side of it is Serie A and the Eredivisie. We're the only big team, giant team in Europe in the last 10 years who's done that on a regular. Out of like AC Milan, mate, I didn't check AC Milan because I mean the competitive teams, and then I threw Man United into it. We're the only ones who buy that much from Serie A and from the Eredivisie. On top of that, as you say, you're buying someone from one of them leagues who then isn't even hitting 50, 30 goals a season, 20 goals a season. It's 9. You have to look at these things. They're so important. So, yeah.
Well, that's kind of mad that that's the case, because it's not a rule or anything, but there's sort of like a feeling in football that when you buy players from Serie A, they don't always work, right? Now, that's I don't mean every single player ever that signed from the Serie A is shit, but a lot of the time you get players from Serie A, sometimes they don't work all the time. Yeah, there are exceptions, right? And the Eredivisie, it's a very technical league, but when a lot of these players come in, the standard, or the physicality is not there. So you've gone to 2 of the leagues. That Bundesliga for me is just ripe for picking off players, mate, because they're good. They've got good teams. Yeah, it's a solid league, and a lot of their teams will just sell players. I remember when we were signing Marmoush. Yeah, we was like, how much are we going to have to spend? It would be like 80 million. They openly put on their website that their business model is to sell players to make money. That's what they openly say. So it's not even like they want to keep players. They're openly telling people that, hey, we'll sell players, and they're good players.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, again, it isn't a rule. There's not a book that says do it, but there's something in the fact that Liverpool City's top 3 leagues are the Prem, La Liga, Bundesliga, which are the 3 strongest leagues, in my opinion, in Europe. The French league has a lot of very good technical players that people do buy from as well. The French league comes up 4th on a lot of people's lists, but Serie A and the Eredivisie are quite low on all the successful teams' lists, other than Man United. And I look at that and I got this something, again, that isn't the only reason we're fucked, but I think it plays a part. And yeah, so for me, I'd take, and someone here, this is a great point. Madueke is not Prem proven. He is just a player that's not played in the Prem. See, that's if you're going by the basic term Prem proven. He is Prem proven. He's a Prem proven backup player. As backup player, he's good. He's Premier League level as a backup. He is not good enough. Again, a backup in a top 16. He'd probably look a better player in a mid-table team that play a lot of counter-attack football. I think you'd see a better Madueke, more output than when he's at a top 6 team where a lot of sides sit back against you. So there's a fundamental difference. But I think he's a Premier League player, but he sits in a different category to a Saka or a Haaland or a Mo Salah, who are top class to world class category, but they're also Prem proven. And that's why, again, if you're buying a right-sided winger, right, I still think there's more chance that Saka is successful at your club if City were buying him than nearly any than other right wingers from outside the Premier League. Even in probably barring Yamal, everybody else, I would say, if I was betting, if they're all costing 100 million, I'm going to go with the Saka option because you know we can do it in this league. That's where I think it plays a part personally. A few more super chats here. We're going to speak Arsenal in a minute, but so this says, sure, we wouldn't win player of the season in the Prem, but you're telling me he wouldn't be the best midfielder if he played in his preferred position instead of DM. I won't believe because there's tape. I know you're talking about Scott McTominay. No, again, I think he would do better if he played in his best position. But I think what helped Scott McTominay last year is that he was suddenly playing in a league where he was one of the top physical specimens in the league. Where in the Premier League, there's so many more defenders, midfielders that are as big and as quick, if not bigger and quicker. And there's a lesser thing there. Scott McTominay wasn't just praised in Serie A for scoring those goals because he scored goals last year in England. It wasn't. It was his actual performances. It wasn't just anonymous and then scored a goal, box crushing. It was top level performances. And so much of that was the way he picked the ball up and was driving through teams. And he did that occasionally for Man United, but he weren't picking up the ball on a regular basis in the Prem and picking the ball up and driving through teams like KDB does for regularly for City in his pomp. He wasn't doing that. I watched him in both leagues. He looked a different player there because the pace of the game, maybe the physicality of the average player, he was just better at it than him. And that's why in life, it's always right to find the best sport or the best category or the best league for you. Because, you know, there's a body shape. They do this thing, Team GB, at like the athletics committee and the Olympic committee do this. They go around when people are being like dropped from like young lads are being dropped from rugby academies, as an example, and they check out the body shape and size of people and go, "Do you want to come try some rowing?" And suddenly, a guy that always wants to be a rugby player that isn't good enough starts rowing and is brilliant at it because their body shape's right. They do a lot of this in sport, and I know that this is league to league, not sport to sport. But I think the premise is still the same. Sometimes you can be athletic, but you've got to find the right thing for you. In football, there is a difference in leagues, pace of the game. It's in the frenetic nature of the game. Some leagues are far more technical. You know, Scott McTominay isn't going to be technically good enough to be a lead midfielder in La Liga. He ain't technically good enough. And their league is more about that. So I think that's what I'm more talking about, Josh. What if we paid Cunha's release clause all in one summer and we sell him for half of that next season? Is that a profit or a loss? So if we bought him in this financial year, so if we paid it all in one go, so that would have been the 24-25 year, all gone. This year, it means we're not paying. If we sell him next summer for a pound more, we've made a pound. We'd have made a profit. Yes, you're right, because it's all paid off. Absolutely right. If you pay it all off 1 year and then the following financial year sell them, it shows us a pure profit on the trading accounts. Yes, you're right. That's correct. Are you serious right now? I don't know what you're referring that to. Scott McTominay, probably, yes. Shesko to Liverpool. Hassam's meltdown will be hilarious. Is that being linked again? I haven't seen any news on that today, but that would be funny. Wayne says, most of these pundits have awful takes. ESPN is worse than TalkSport. Stuart Robson and Stevie Nicol consistently chat nonsense. Yeah, I haven't even watched any of their stuff for years, but it's just noise. Mark Goldbridge said this to me earlier. It's right. He goes, it isn't analysis, it's just noise. And I'd rather listen to you two. I do rather listen to you two. That's why I have you on my shows than listen to most of those ex-pros who just spout cliched bollocks all the time. They really do. It's crazy stuff. Moving on from Man United, obviously Arsenal yesterday, LB. The fee is all but agreed now to bring in the guy that broke the news yesterday that it was advancing. The guy from Sweden has just come out and said the deal is imminent between the clubs. But Gyökeres is going to become an Arsenal player. How good a business do you think that is, LB, in terms of bolstering their front line?
Mint. Well better than Sesko. And again, you're looking for proven goal scorers, and this is a proven goal scorer. And people will do the thing where they'll go, "Oh, it's only Portugal," and then you go, "Okay, but what about what about when he was at Coventry? Oh, he was in the Championship. We're doing Championship now." They try and play it down all the time. Yeah, the facts is, this guy scores goals, mate. Yeah, this guy scores goals. Yeah, look at his goals for Sweden. Oh, it's Sweden. He'll probably play a bunch of farmers. Like, you know what I mean? They do the same with Osimhen, man. I hear it all the time. Yeah, the fact is, this guy scores goals wherever he's going to be. Will he fit the system? That's a different question. But ultimately, that's up to Arteta to fit him in the system. Because you don't buy a player that scored 50 goals last year and put him in a system that don't work. So it's up to Arteta now to get a system, that can cook with Gyökeres in it. But I just think this is showing a bit of ambition. But Arsenal can't stop. Arsenal can't stop now. And here's where I'm going to rattle some Arsenal fans, man, because I'm going to be slightly negative. They've got to go and do more. This ain't enough. Yeah, they've got Zubimendi, good signing, not as good as Partey. Upgraded their striker, Gyökeres, from Havertz to Gyökeres. That's an upgrade. They need more. Gyökeres and Zubimendi, for me, I don't think take them to the league. It's a good start, and it's showing some decent ambition, but that's not enough. It's not. They've got to keep going. They've got to keep pushing, man. They've got to go and get a left winger because your left wingers ain't good enough. Got to go and get proper backup to Saka or go and get someone that can compete with him. Not a Sterling, not a Madueke, someone that's better than that. Someone where you could go, you know what, we're going to drop Saka today. Yeah, we're going to drop him because he's not been good. We're going to put this guy, you can't do that. Yeah, and then strengthen other areas. Yeah, it's a great start, and I think Arsenal fans should be very happy, but it's not enough on its own, and they need more. But they're moving in the right direction. And if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be absolutely buzzing that they've not got that Sesko. Because I think Sesko is miles away from Gyökeres from what I've seen. I remember we played him a couple of years ago, and Openda was clear of this guy. Clear. Because this was before Arsenal was even linked. I can't remember if we was linked with him, actually. I can't remember because I've not seen this guy before. I was like, see what he's saying. And he'd come on, he played for like 30 minutes and he was rubbish. And that Openda was unbelievable. I was like, what's all the hype with this guy? And last year he scored 13 league goals. Now he ain't the one, man. This is a good signing for Arsenal. Zubimendi's a good signing. If they could get Rodrygo in, wow. If they got Rodrygo in now from Real Madrid, that'd be it. Go win the league.
Well, I mean, I think we'd still have to do a little bit more there. But I mean, when you start adding players like that in through the door, then you're starting to look at the squad and thinking, all right, cool. Now we're sort of finally here, we're competing. And I still wouldn't be double satisfied. I'd be over the moon. Let's just keep it with the Gyökeres thing for the minute. I don't actually know what I'm happier with, if I'm being honest with you. Is Gyökeres signing or Sesko not signing? So I'm totally with you there. I think Sesko would have held us back 2 years. I think almost sort of saying what Terry was saying about being used to the league, and then you were saying about, that guarantee of goals. Let's not forget as well, over the last 3 years, he only got 16 goals in the Austrian league, Sesko. Then he moved to a better league in the Bundesliga, got 14, and then got 13 the next year. So not only does he find it more difficult when he gets into a better league, he doesn't score as many goals, he's also regressed over the last 3 years. You're getting a Gyökeres in who was at the Championship, like what you were right in saying, LB, 21 goals. That's a bloody difficult league. That's a bloody difficult league, the Championship. So fair dues for that. Then he goes to Portugal, 29. Then last season he gets 39. You're about a player that's on the up now. And let's sort of face it, in terms of available strikers, Arsenal Football Club couldn't have signed anyone better. He was the best available striker to put the ball in the back of the net this summer, and it looks like Arsenal's gone and got him. So let's just isolate on that. I'm absolutely buzzing with that. Is it a year too late? Is it 2 years too late? I'd definitely argue it was a year too late. I would have rather released his clause at 85 million and not signed Mikel Merino and Calafiori last summer. But it is what it is. I reckon we'd have been in good stead. We've needed a striker since Aubameyang left, really, and that was 2.5 years ago, boys. So a long time has taken us to replace him. Some people might say and combat that with, Cool, yeah, it's worth the wait. But I've got a season ticket at Arsenal. I've gone to that stadium knowing that we need a striker for the last 2 years, and I'll probably bet that everyone on this panel and most in the chat will probably think if Arsenal had a fire in Viktor Gyökeres the last 2 years, we could probably have come out with one Premier League title there. Probably not last season, but that 2-point season at Manchester City, you had a Gyökeres in there. You can't say that for certain, absolutely not. But I tell you what, you could make a good old argument for it. So we've got him in now, and we're obviously moving on to the left wing. You mentioned as well, obviously, the Rodrygo. I reckon that's a very difficult signing to make. Is he available? Will he come to Arsenal? There's plenty of teams around Europe that are interested. So it'd be a fantastic signing if we got him. Let's get that absolutely right. But my worry is, and to tie the Madueke thing in there is, and I've said this on my channel last night, right? We spend 55 million on Madueke, and then Rodrygo all of a sudden becomes available in 2 or 3 months' time. And then Arsenal go, well, we haven't got the money for him. That's my real frustration for it. Now, I know they're two different positions, but how much money have Arsenal Football Club got? We've already signed Krapa Arrizabla, who gives a toss at 5 million at right back, 5 million at the goalkeeper. We've signed Mosquera, no one knew 5 days ago, and that's about 20 million. And smart signing, some people say Norgard, 10 million. 55 million Zubamendi, but what I'm saying is it all adds up 65, 70 million for the Gyökeres. Now all of a sudden you're adding 55 million for Madueke, and the money's obviously going to thin down with a football team that's not selling players. We're letting them go for free again, which has been the Achilles heel of the sales of Arsenal Football Club for the last 5.5 years. Arteta inherited Aubameyang, Nicolas Pepe, and Lacazette. 180 million they cost this football club, and they all walk for free. So you know what I mean? We haven't got loads of money to spend, and I don't know. I think with the Madueke signing, if you did and you pushed me and you was like, all right, yeah, the Madueke at the right back, get Kudus, same money. Get Kudus. That's a better signing than Madueke all day long. That's what I'd have at the right back. And then for the left wing, if you could go and get me a Rodrygo, a Viktor Gyökeres, a Zubamendi, and a Kudus, I'm looking at the season. I'm thinking, do you know what? I'm going there on match day 1 or match day 2 at Leeds. I'm going to sit in my seat in the North Bank, and I'm going to thinking, do you know what? Maybe we've got a chance here. Maybe we've got a chance here, this squad. That's a good squad. That's a proper level raising squad. You get a Rodrygo in. You said it yourself, LB. You get these players in there. Martinelli ain't quite cut it. 2 years ago, the geezer was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. What did he do on that? 2 seasons ago. Didn't quite cut it. What did he do last season? Didn't quite cut it. Copy and paste it with a lot of these players. But, the striker, we've had Gabriel Jesus. Started fantastic. Got injured. Never came back the same. Whatever you want to put on that, whatever. 13 league goals for his best season at Arsenal Football Club. We replace him with who? Kai Havertz. 13 best for Arsenal Football Club. We don't need to be signing the likes of Asea Sesko. That's going to come in and probably get 13 league goals. So we've absolutely raised the level there in terms of a Gyökeres. I wouldn't mind a Lookman to come in at the left wing, but I want a Gyökeres at a left wing. Obviously not Gyökeres, but someone like a Rodrygo that comes in and goes, cool. You've got these wingers that are putting in 8 goals, 8 assists. Come and get me better than that. And I know Rodrygo's numbers ain't actually outstanding, but he is a significantly better football player than what we've got at left wing at this football club. That's what would excite me. The window in its entirety at the minute, I'm like, meh. Could we do better? Absolutely. There's a lot of business to be done. But the Gyökeres and the Zubamendi, when you couple that, look, there's a starting to creep a little smile on my face, but we can't stop there. We cannot stop there. The best teams, like a Manchester United teams in their pomp, and LB, you've seen it for the last 8 years, bruv. You don't stop. You just carry on. You carry on and pushing. Look at you last year before I stopped waffling. Last year, you had your first trophy-less season until for the first time since Guardiola signed in 16-17, you finished 3rd and no trophies. What did you do in the winter window? You were like, yeah, probably not going to be the best season here, is it? You spend dough, you get players in. This summer, you ain't sat on your ass, have you? You've gone, do you know what? Bang, let's go get these players, and you won't stop. And that's what winners do. They don't stop. I just don't want us to stop at Viktor Gyökeres, boys. Otherwise, it's just going to be another season.
What about Aaron? Yeah. What about if it's Zubamendi, Gyökeres, and Eze? James asked the question. Does that take you to the title? I don't think it does. I'll be real. I just don't think that's quite enough, man.
We still need. Do you know what? If we had,
we need a bit more.
That's good. I'm glad you added the Eze in there. If we was to have Eze, because I'm sorry, I'm not buying him at left wing. I'm sorry, you just ain't. For Arsenal Football Club, I want him to displace Odegaard. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, he can in a 4-3-3 play that left 8. I personally believe that with Zubamendi there, I don't think we should be playing a 4-3-3 because I just don't think he could do what Thomas Partey does, or did do rather, of course, in terms of receiving the ball right close to your box, dropping the shoulder, and being able to wriggle out of tight spaces and progress the ball fast, very, very quick in a similar action. I don't see Zubamendi doing that. He hasn't got the legs as a Thomas Partey's done. So I'm thinking, well, if Declan Rice is at left 8, then who's giving this geezer a hand? So I'd actually go back to a 4-2-3-1 if I'm being totally honest. I'd have Zubamendi and Rice at that base there, double pivot. Ideally, of course, I'm speaking. I'd have a Rodrygo on the left-hand side. I'd have Eze in the number 10 and Gyökeres up top with, of course, Saka. That team, I'm looking there and I'm thinking, I'm not going to sit here and be arrogant enough to go, that's winning the league. Absolutely not, because you've got two teams that know how to win this Premier League. We don't. But I tell you what, I'd be looking forward to the league, to the season. I'll put my hands up with that. I wouldn't say we'd win it, but with that starting lineup, we should bloody be right up there.
There's a chance. Look, I think what's interesting is the Rodrygo news on this as well, because look, Gyökeres, I agree with what you boys have said. Arsenal still need more, absolutely. I asked a question on my personal channel a few days ago, like, could this win them the league? And I've said yes, but not just because he's signing. I think when you go to talk to Rodrygo, having Zubamendi, having Gyökeres is a much better sell than if you'd not signed Zubamendi and if you'd got Šeško or got Kai Havertz as our main number 9. I think when you now talk to Rodrygo, there's more to make him latch onto you with. Much more. I think Eze is a done deal if you want it. If you want it and you're prepared to pay the 68 million release clause, is yours. The fact Spurs just walked away, City have gone and got Cherky, Liverpool have gone and got themselves Wirtz. You've got a free run at him. He should be your player to complement, compete with Odegaard, cover wide positions when needed. But I think Eze at Arsenal will have a similar impact to what we saw Elise do at Bayern Munich. I think he's such a good player that just needs that better team around him, and I think he'll flourish. But Rodrygo's the interesting one now because he is... You guys have started talks in checking out whether he'd be interested. There are some reports that have come out that his priority is the Prem and Arsenal on top of the list. But there's reports coming out today from various sources, Graham Bailey and others, that Liverpool are showing an interest in him. PSG are showing an interest. There's also the situation with Bayern Munich with, unfortunately, they didn't get Nico Williams. Musiala's just gone and got himself, out for 4 or 5 months. Do you see a world where Rodrygo will happen for Arsenal? Because he's going to leave Real Madrid. I think it is almost a certainty that Madrid don't want him anymore, or Alonso don't want him. He's going to leave. The deal's on for multiple clubs. Where does he go? Have Arsenal got a good shot in this, Aaron?
Well, I mean, you'd like to at least hope they're going to throw their name in the hat. Absolutely. If players like that are available, as I'd said previously, that is an absolute floor raiser. That's better than what we've got 2, 3, 4-fold at left wing. Of course, that probably means one of them's going to have to go, but at least chuck your name in the hat. Now, if Liverpool and Manchester City, say, were throwing their name in the hat, would I be less confident about him come to Arsenal? Yeah, I would. Because when you're probably looking at it, they can compete financially with the player. And also, they're probably in better positions to not necessarily guarantee you winning trophies, but if you was to ask me now who's going to win the trophy next season, Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, Arsenal would be the bottom of the pile, purely because the other teams have won it so frequently. So, yeah, I would be a little bit worried. But look, listen, you never know. Are Manchester City going to be in for him? You don't 100% know. Are we going to massively blow him out the window, or anyone out the window astronomically with a wage packet that gets him through the deal? You don't really know. But all I'm asking Arsenal Football Club to do, and this is why I don't want us to get Madueke and blow funds, I would rather at least just hold it in there. If he is available, go all out for him. Go, here's 80 million, Real Madrid. Talk to me. Bit of Terry Tibbs. Talk to me. That's it. There you go. What have you got now? How much is he going to go for? How much more is it going to take? Let's talk. Get in there first. Do you know what I mean? That might make the little bit of difference. He knows probably if he wants to play at left wing. I don't know maybe so much about the other clubs. He'll be in a better position to say that than at Manchester City than me at Arsenal. But he'll guaranteed get game time at left wing for us. So that might come into play, the fact that you're guaranteed in there, like you said, signings like a Zubamendi and a Gyökeres might go, oh, Arsenal are looking like they mean a bit more business and they want to go in a certain direction. That might all help, but I just want us to be in the conversation 100%. We can't not be. Arsenal Football Club can't allow themselves to freeze themselves out of a Rodrygo transfer. No way.
Do you
Absolutely
think?
not.
Does you think like? 'Cause I know you're quite critical, right? But do you think that maybe Arsenal Football Club, not the fans, of course, I'm talking about the board and and the owners. Do you think that they'll just look at Zubimendi and Gyökeres and go, "That'll keep the fans sweet for another year"? Or do you think that their board and the owners really have the true desire and an ambition to go out there and do Zubimendi, Gyökeres, and a Rodrygo all in one transfer window? Because that's what it takes. Do you think they'll do that?
I mean, if they do, I'll be surprised. But look, we've only got 12 months to answer your question in terms of history and why I think that they won't do that. 12 months ago, we ran you closer than we've ever done before. 2 points in it, albeit I sort of kind of knew Manchester City are a new animal. They're a different animal, rather. You know, when they get towards that end, you just winning, know how to get over the line. But I just thought then when there was 2 points behind, I thought, wow, this is the summer, i.e. last summer, where we really, really, really now try and take this Premier League title off of you. And what did Arsenal... Let me actually, before I say that, Manchester City last summer didn't even have a great transfer window, nor did Liverpool. So there was even more in it for Arsenal Football Club last summer to just go, have the window we're having now. Get Gyökeres in there. Get another winger in there and do what we should have done. Even if you'd done half of it, we wouldn't have had to do all of this business this season. And the very fact is we thought we'd close the gap to Manchester City and get that 2 points closer by signing a left-sided centre-back in Calafiori and play him out of position, and Mikel Merino, probably one of the worst midfielders I've seen at Arsenal Football Club, and play him up top. You know, so I've got that. You know, so when you're asking me, do you think they'll get the business done? I'll probably say no, because I've seen it so many times. They've been at this football club and been in charge in 2018. And when it gets to that point where you want to change that, go up a gear and really do it, they've found wanting every single time. Would I love them to change? Yes, of course I would. But I've got history to go by on. They never do the business. If they do this season, buzz in. Big up to the Cronkies this summer. Well done. But do I think it's going to happen? No. There's a massive difference between what I think will happen and what I want to happen. Massive, massive difference.
Well, if you don't sign a left winger, I don't think you'll win the league. Well, I think you really need to upgrade that position. Really,
it's stale, bruv. The strike force, I know we got Gyökeres in now, but could you imagine Arsenal went in another season with Trossard and Martinelli and Jesus and Kai Havertz and relying on Bukayo Saka? It's so stale. You know, if there were animals, RSPCA would be called. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's neglected.
I also think I did a show with Potsy a couple of weeks ago in London, and I said it there and I say it again. I think getting rid of Martinelli also sends a message to a lot of the main first 11 that if your standards drop for more than a year, you can go. And I think you need to set that. The best teams I've ever seen have been willing to sacrifice top players if their standards drop. Sometimes you sacrifice top players irrespective. And the most famous example I can think of was Fergie when he moved on Ince and Hughes and Kanchelskis. One, it was to make room for this crop of young players. It was excellent. But that certainly sent a message to all the other elder statesmen of shit, we're not safe here. And if you want to stay, you got to pull your socks up. So I think improving that area with Rodrygo is important, but also sacrificing someone. And I think this happens to a lot of clubs. Man United are going through it, definitely. And I'm sure you remember this when you were younger, LB, when your team wasn't brilliant like it is now. You become more attached to players, I think, than when you're doing well. And I know a lot of Arsenal fans, especially the younger ones who haven't witnessed you win anything, like outside of barring FA Cups, you've won nothing else major. You fall in love with the players. Martinelli helped get us to this point, and Saka helped get to this point, and X, Y, and Z got us to this level, and I love them. I want to see him stay to get over the line with us. Sometimes you have to move those players on to get over the line. It's part and parcel. Sometimes they get you over the line and you're winning with them and you still get rid of them. You sell them at a profit so you can invest in the next person to keep your team winning over time. And I think Arsenal, if you look at Wenger's era, one of the biggest mistakes you made is you never sold people for as much money as they should have gone for, and never really... It wasn't like, when the Vieiras of this world went, it wasn't like you were getting massive money and reinvesting in somebody else that was really good. It was always kind of like undercutting things, and you got away with it for a while. But as soon as the Chelseas and the Cities came along and then all the new money came in, Arsenal struggled. So I don't think an Arsenal fan at all should be looking at Martinelli leaving as terrible and crazy. As long as the replacements are better and it's done in the right way where there's another kick up the backside. Because when you did get rid of Aubameyang and co, and I still think it was for the right reasons, you saw an uplift in your team performances. You became a better team. And I know the replacement's needed, but I'm talking about the logic of the kick up the backside. If you'd have done that and then brought in a world-class striker, the performances would have been even better. In fact, you may have even gone on to win the bloody league. So I think it's the right thing to do. The left side's important. I've got a couple of questions for you boys, though. Fictional football here. This one is fictional football. Viktor Gyökeres will outscore Erling Haaland in the Premier League next season.
No.
Yeah, I don't think he will either. I'd like to hope that that he can give him a good race, but we are talking about Erling Haaland, who's hit numbers off the charts. Assuming they're all both fully fit into an integrated system, I would always put my money on Erling Haaland. That's not to say that I think Gyökeres will be millions of miles behind, but if you put my mortgage on it, I'll be putting it on Haaland. Absolutely, yeah.
Can I throw out just a little bit of facts here? By the way, big Haaland fan, always protecting. First season in the Prem, 36 goals. Second season in the Prem, 27 goals. Last season, 22. So his trajectory is going down, right? I'm just putting it out there in terms before anyone answers, including the viewers. He's got less. By the way, even his bad seasons, one of the best in the league. It's still brilliant. But a new striker, bit between his teeth, dumped his girlfriend, taken a pay cut. He's hungry. Can anyone see it? I'm just. Anyone see it? Obviously, you don't think it will happen either, LB.
Nah, I think Turkey Haaland gonna cook, bro. I think Turkey's gonna do some mad stuff next year, bro. Mad assists and that.
You think Haaland will be back to his best as well, like goal scoring wise?
Yeah, I've already seen like little bits from the Club World Cup, man, of actually playing through balls to Haaland, which we've not done in the Premier League for time. I actually don't remember the last time we actually done it. We've done about 4 in the Club World Cup already. So yeah, I reckon Haaland 30 Prem goals next year.
Do you know what as well? If assuming obviously both are fully fit and play a large number of games, if Gyökeres was to outscore Erling Haaland, Arsenal would probably be having a pretty half decent season. You'd be expecting if he was to outscore him, he'd be getting 25 goals minimum. Gyökeres, if he was to outscore, we've seen him 22. I know he was injured a little bit last year, but if we was to sort of outscore Erling Haaland with Gyökeres, when you get that sort of level of goals, assuming Saka stays on his trajectory and chips in with things like that, Arsenal would be online to have a good season. How that ends or translates in, which is obviously trophies, of course, we'll never know. But, if you've got a striker banging in that level of goals, you've got a chance. Absolutely got a chance. Sometimes they're the difference between drawing a game 0-0 and winning it 1-0. Erling Haaland, or taking a game from 1-0 down and coming back. 2 moments of magic. We've seen Haaland do it all the time. Not single-handedly, but Erling Haaland has been a big factor in Manchester City winning trophies after the last 2-3 years. And that's not because he's the best footballer in the world. It's because he's one of the best goal scorers in the world. It's all about making that net ripple, mate.
Facts.
Sorry, send a message. I hear you, and I think that's really important. Josh here says, just want to say, Aaron was cooking with these points. I would prefer to take a club over the line than maintain. Yeah, of course you do. The point I'm making is that certain generations haven't experienced that, and I see it with all clubs. When clubs go through bad periods and then they start getting better, people fall in. Like Man United didn't have any player FC ever my whole life. Really, when I was younger, I wouldn't remember. I was too young to remember that. But we moved on so many top players that we loved, and everybody got behind it and went, cool. Disappointed Beckham's gone. Disappointed he's gone. But let's get behind the club. Now it's like there's people starting agendas on Cunha already because he's got Rashford's number. That's disgusting. Rashford's agent's been looking for a new club for 18 months for him. Why is it disgusting? I don't get it. But they're starting an agenda. That's because Rashford's like almost the peak of excitement some young United fans have ever seen. Yeah, if they were winning league titles and everything else, and we thought we were going to continue in that vein, you wouldn't care as much. Oh, no, that was about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Fair, Josh. I hear you now, my friend. Thank you, Luke, for encouraging everybody to hit that like button. I've got one other question for you. This might trigger you, Aaron. This might trigger you, this one. All right, mate?
We'll see.
Fictional football. Noni Madueke will surprise fans and thrive at Arsenal after his move.
Yeah, fuck off, Tel. Nah. Come on, man. Come on, listen. We're talking about Madueke, yeah, and people will always get this a little bit mixed up. If he was to come, of course I'd want him to do well. But he's just over in the last 3 years has got like 13 league goals, man. This ain't no backup to Saka. We've already got that Reece Nelson coming back from loan. What's the point in spending 55 million on Reece Nelson from Chelsea? It's just pointless. Come on, man. Enough of this Madueke stuff. We can't be having the bandana at Arsenal.
I mean, it's reported that they're expecting a bid from you. It's reported they're expecting a bid. So it's one of these things where I think, just like you said about the Dominic Calvert-Lewin thing, I don't want it to happen, but it might. I think you've got to get into that world where he might be wearing the red of Arsenal in a week or two, Ruv.
I'm never getting in that world. Mad Wakey can stay exactly where he is. I'm not prepared to get into that world. No more Chelsea rejects, please. We've had like 9 or 10. We don't need a 55 million. We don't need another one. I'm still haunted. I'm still haunted by Peter Cech coming into this football club, let alone Kai Havertz at 65 million. Come on, we can't be having another Mad Wakey coming in at 55. Come on. That'd be a nail in the coffin for me. I'm not gonna lie. That one alert massively.
LB, is there any price he could come in for where it's okay business for Arsenal, in your opinion?
No, because it's not. This is where Arsenal might go wrong. It's because it's not about just having players there for having players their sake. It's about players that can legitimately step in to the first team when Saka's injured or he's suspended and perform. So I look back at the City teams that have won all the trophies. I look back at when we had Mahrez on the bench, Foden on the bench. Yeah, we've had Sane on the bench. I've had these players on the bench. Bernardo Silva benched. Yeah. You look at the United teams throughout the years, Terry, when United was winning stuff. Look at the players you had on the bench, where if a player got injured and a player stepped in, it was like, sweet, we carry on. What this is doing, this is sending a clear signal to Saka that he is going to be playing right wing no matter what. And if he drops out, Madueke will come in and there will be a massive drop-off. For me, Arsenal needs to go and get someone much better than Madueke. Someone that can challenge. You go get Kudus.
Exactly. Same dough, bruv, LB. Same dough.
It's mad, mate. It's crazy how you wouldn't just go and get him over Madueke, mate. It's why I don't know. And I think with Kudus as well, the guy can play in the middle. You know what I mean? So he can share some minutes with Odegaard. You know what I mean? He could probably play down the middle in terms of a striker if you needed to sub off. But basically, right, Madueke is not getting no minutes. He won't get no minutes because he's not going to play anywhere else, bro. Yeah, unless they stick him out on the left, right? So he's not going to play. Kudus can get minutes elsewhere. I think this is an L signing, and people will look at this and they'll go, "Oh, but he's only backup. But he's a bad backup. He's a bad backup. You need a good backup." You try to win this thing with Arsenal, right? This is what the thing is, yeah. It's like they've reached that stage now where the time for talking is over. Yeah, they just got to what Champions League quarter-final, semi-final last year, yeah? They finished second 3 years in a row. They're trying to win the Prem, they're trying to win the Champions League, and signing players like Madueke, for me, ain't the one that's going to do it. They need to be signing top-quality players, mate. I think Kudus will be a great signing.
100%, mate. Do you know what as well? To agree with you there as well. Signing Gyökeres one step forward. Madueke for 55 million, another step back. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't fill you with confidence because just when Arsenal, you sit there as a fan and think, wow, we're actually looking at proper players now. And then you see Madueke 55 million and you're just dragged straight back down to planet Earth. Do you know what I mean? If Kudus is available for the same dough, absolute no-brainer for me. That then is when you're looking at Arsenal Football Club and going, okay, they're buying Kudus as a backup. Okay, maybe they are serious. Madueke is a backup. No one cares. Because he's crap. He's not good enough. It's as simple as that. If he was good enough, Chelsea wouldn't be selling him. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think the money you're talking about as well. I don't personally think a cheap deal is the worst thing in the world for a backup, but I also understand the biggest thing for me is that Chelsea have got to raise 60 odd million through sales. There's an element of, is there not another backup you could get that doesn't help Chelsea? That's in my mind. And I just think, surely there is another player 25, 30 million, who's going to be fourth or fifth choice if you land those other targets, right? That doesn't help Chelsea financially. That's the bit where I think I said it with Mason Mount at the time. I didn't want him as a player, but there must have been someone somewhere better, cheaper, that wouldn't have helped Chelsea so much. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you guys should be doing this deal. And that's coming from me, Mr. Pretend Arsenal fan. Do you know what I mean? So, it's one of them ones. Boys, look, thank you both for coming on as always. Obviously, a bit of a new dimension with Aaron joining the show today, but I thought it flowed really well. Viewers, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Everyone who's hit the like button, everyone who's commented, everyone who's super chatted. Thank you. LB, let everyone know where they can find you, brother.
Yeah, my channel's it's LB, innit? You know what I'm saying? We've been there now a couple of years. So yeah, man. Big up. See you next week, innit?
Lovely. And Aaron, let everyone know where they can find you on YouTube, my man.
Yeah, jump over at Aaron Talks Arsenal. Yeah, I've got a few bits coming up in the pipeline. Always do a call-in show on the Fridays as well, every single Friday. It's a good one. If any one of you want to come and challenge any points, you're more than welcome. So yeah, big up, Tel. And a pleasure again as well, LB, being on screen for the first time.
Yeah, you too, mate. Nice one.
Yeah, big up. Look, viewers, we're live after Fluminense versus Chelsea later tonight, so join us for the match reaction. Plus, you want to go check out my new channel. It's just Terry Fluers. It's not Terry Fluers TV anymore. It's just my name, Terry Fluers. You can scan that QR code next to LB's lovely big head, or you can just search Terry Fluers on YouTube. Really easy. Go and give us a sub over there if you're not subscribing already. Nearly on 50k over there, which is nice. So yeah, go and subscribe and everything else. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.